and more to your digital customer with Genesys. So we're extremely pleased to introduce to you Peter van Eysen today, who's a Principal Solution Consultant at Genesys, as well as Alicia Griffith, who's Senior Solutions Consultant at Genesys. And of course, a lot of interesting insight and information and demos that they would like to show you today that are going to demonstrate to you the value of using Genesys in order to enhance your omni-channel customer experience in business. A couple of things that I would like to share with you all. For the sake of all our listeners, I would like to ask that you please mute your mic. So please mute your mic for the sake of the listeners so that the audio comes through loud and clear for everybody. You will be able to see the presenter faces, so their video will be available for you to see, but also the webinar will be recorded. So we will endeavor to make it available to you as soon as we can in order to view the recording offline. And then, of course, we will be taking questions. So in your webinar interface, there is a questions tab. We'd welcome you to ask your questions there. For the sake of flow, we're going to let the presenters, Peter and Alicia, get through their presentations first before we take any questions. But you're welcome to ask any questions, and we will take 2 or 3 minutes at the end of the presentation in order to address that with you. So I hope that's okay. Please mute your mics. Sit back, relax, enjoy the presentation, and we hope you learned something extremely valuable here today. I'd like to kick off with a welcome video from the Genesys CEO, Tony Bates. He would like to share a few words with us.
Hello, I'm Tony Bates, Genesys CEO. I'd like to thank each of our 11,000 customers around the world for working with Genesys. You know, together we deliver amazing customer experiences that define brands and connect moments into strong customer relationships. Today, personalization is changing customer expectations. We can watch TV, exercise, eat, and shop any way at any time from any place. And in this experience economy, we want the same thing from businesses. Personalization that works for customers. This is the next wave for customer experience. We're committed to enabling you to give your customers the experience they want. We believe this is the moment that determines the future of customer experience. It's our moment, it's your moment, and it's your customer's moment. Thank you very much.
Right, so when Genesys asked us to do the webinar, they were kind enough to give us a few minutes just to speak on something that we find interesting. My name is Alden, and I am, amongst other things, the chairperson of Customer Experience South Africa. Customer CXSA, as we often refer to it, aims to be the professional association that carries the interest of customer experience and customer experience professionals forward. So I'd like to spend a few minutes speaking about digital transformation for the CEO and asking some of the big questions that matter to me at an industry level as it relates to customer experience. So we have just established our brand identity. You are among the first people in South Africa, in fact, depending on where you are, the first people across the world to actually see our new logo and our new brand identity. But I wanted to share with you our purpose statement. As Customer Experience South Africa, we want to professionalize and recognize the experience management discipline within South Africa, enabling practitioners to enhance their competency, supporting better and customer and organizational outcomes. So we really want to play a role in educating, in enabling and empowering customer experience practitioners to be better at what they do to give customers what they want in order to progress in life. So I thought I'd start with a fascinating picture of ENIAC. I don't know if any of you know this, but ENIAC is really the genesis of digital. So the pun there is intentional, but this was the start. ENIAC is the first computer ever developed. And when you look at what some of the contemporaries around the time said about ENIAC, Keith Olsen, the founder of Digital Equipment Corporation, he shared sentiment that there would be no reason why anyone would want a computer in their home. Around about the same time, well, probably a few years earlier, but Thomas Watson, who was the president of IBM for a very long time, is reported to have said that I think that there is a worldwide market for maybe 5 computers, right? Often attributed to making this kind of statement. But the problem is, this is actually false. In truth, Thomas Watson never said this. So the statement, as attributed to him, turned out to be false. It was clarified by IBM in 1953. So this is a few years later that IBM expected to get orders for 5 machines, right? So what we hear and what we express is that actually the same thing. And the big question for me, looking at customer experience, looking at digital transformation, is, do we need to reframe? Do we need to reframe what we think? Do we need to reframe what we believe? Do we need to reframe what we do? Do we need to reframe how we operate so that we are listening to customers and are delivering what customers want? So I have worked on a number of transformation projects. I'm sure we can all agree that change and transformation and business transformation are the new normal. But my question to the CXO is, how are you led? Are you tech-driven or are you experience-driven? I've seen projects where technology strong arms the customer experience so that a well-intended customer experience project becomes a technology implementation project. And for someone who's a customer experience leader and trying to ensure that we deliver great customer experience at an industry level, this is obviously of great concern. And the question to CXOs, and in fact to CIOs, is, please take note, are you being tech-driven or are you being experience-driven? I did a bit of research and I looked around for what CIOs are sharing. So these are Chief Information Officers, what they are sharing as their priorities for 2020. And amongst other things, this is what they're saying: people power, new technologies, training, automation, and cybersecurity. So this is taken from the Wall Street Journal and obviously is not, widely representative of all CIO priorities. But it's key for me to note in there that there's very little, if anything at all, related to customer, right? So what are we in business for? What is the purpose of business? Is it to implement technology, or is it to deliver to customers that value that are going to enable them to progress with technology as the enabler to do so? So the big question, who is thinking about the customer? Especially a question to the CIOs. There's a very well-known quote, and this one is correct, by Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs was on stage one day speaking to an audience, and he said, after quite a lot of thinking, he said that you have to start with the customer experience and work backwards towards the technology. And this is such a profound statement. How many organizations, again, are starting with the technology and are trying to, in a piecemeal sort of way, trying to find a link back to the customer experience, when it in fact should be the other way around. Gartner has put out a report, a fairly recent report. They spoke to 244 global customer experience leaders, and they asked them about the emerging technologies that they expect will have the biggest impact on customer experience in the next 3 years. So what are we seeing? Artificial intelligence. We're seeing visual customer assistants and chatbots. We're seeing omni-channel come through. We're seeing real-time event-driven application architecture, and we're seeing the Internet of Things. And the same question there is, can we ensure as customer experience leaders, as CXOs, as Chief Customer Officers, that these technologies are there purely for the benefit of customers, right? So they are enabling customers with the channels, with the technologies, with the omni-channel capabilities, that customers need to interact with brands on their terms, as well as achieve the kind of progress that the customers want to achieve in their life. There's much more, so I'm not going to go into it in detail, but many more reports that you can find. For example, the IDC, they looked at the kind of value that you can derive from use cases around these kind of engagements. My concern again is, are we justifying the spend and the ROI of tech-led implementations for customer experience? Shouldn't we be measuring the metrics that matter to customers, right? So the experience, the effort, the satisfaction, the value I experience from your brand. Isn't that more expensive in the new reality where customer experience is the number one concern in business, as opposed to the digital technology? And I, of course, will be looking to Genesys to answer some of these questions for us. So when you look at customer experience investments, I would hope that we are doing it at the intersect of three things: making sure we have a clear understanding of customer expectations, balancing that with where technology advancements are going. So we acknowledge that technology grows, it improves, it enables more functionality for us, but we need to balance that with the customer expectations, and we need to also balance all of that with seamless touchpoint orchestration. And I hope that serves as a very thought-provoking introduction into digital transformation, the way we're viewing it, certainly in my role as chairperson of Customer Experience South Africa, and the benefits we would like to see that technology brings to customers, and not only to be technology-led. So that is what I had to share very quickly. Thank you for listening. Ladies and gents, we would like to introduce Peter van Eysen to you. Peter van Eysen is the Principal Solution Consultant at Genesys in South Africa. Peter's going to cover with us a couple of things, but primarily the ROI with regards to digital marketing spend. Peter feels in our conversations that the spend is low, significantly low, and we'd like to share some insight around our ROI around digital marketing spend. In addition, he's going to talk about the window of opportunity that is available, that is there to influence buyers and to influence customers' purchasing decisions, and that window is very small, and some insights around how you can leverage and maximize that for your own company's benefit. Peter's also going to speak about AI and machine learning, and he's going to talk about how AI can engage the right lead or the right customer at the right time, on the right channel, with the right resources. So all the rights, right time, right product, right time, right customer, influenced and supported by AI, so that you can have increased sales and increased conversions to sell more to your digital customer. So with that, we're going to hand over to Peter. If you will just give us a second or two to swap screens. So Peter's going to be joining us shortly. I hope that you found that introduction and the questions that I've asked around digital transformation to the CIO, CXO interesting and intriguing. Please feel free to use the questions tab in your webinar interface to ask any questions you may have. But with that, we're welcoming Peter van Eysen to chat through his presentation and give us a bit of a demo on Genesys tools.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Alden, for the great intro, as well as the good insights you provided from your perspective. So thank you very much for that. As Alden alluded to, from a Genesys perspective, I'm going to try and help you or show you how you can sell faster and, of course, more to your digital customer, especially in these times where I think the digital side of commerce and retail is definitely seeing an upturn. Right, Peter van Eysen, Principal Solution Consultant for Genesys Southeastern Africa. Been with the company for quite a few years. I'd like to just give you a quick overview of Genesys, just to understand where Genesys fits into the picture when it comes to customer experience and how it ties into the digital and sales part, not necessarily just the customer experience part. So Genesys is a leader in the customer experience market. I think for the layman terms, or for, let's say, the older the guys on the call, like me, you would call the contact center providers or call center providers, but it's evolved from that into more of a customer engagement or customer experience platform. We have 25 years in that in CX leadership, with over 70 billion interactions per year globally. With a partner network about 1,200 strong at this point in time, 11,000 customers and growing, 5,000 employees across the globe in more than 100 countries. From a top 100 brands across the globe, 60% of those use Genesys products or Genesys platforms. And there's some notable names here. I'm not going to read through all of them. I think one that's top of mind these days, Uber, Microsoft, Visa, for those doing lots of online shopping, Facebook, McDonald's. So you'll see there's lots of the big names, and they leverage Genesys platforms to provide customer experience to their customers. We also have a good footprint across all the, well, not all, but many verticals and industries and geographies. 25% financial services, insurance, 7% retail, 10% healthcare and pharmaceutical. Again, not going to read through all of them, but we've got a very good footprint across all those geographies and industries. So it gives us good insights on what our customers expect and what our customers have seen from a performance perspective as it relates to selling to their digital customers and providing that customer service that we all expect. So if we think, tying into Eldon's introduction, we've all been, from a contact center customer experience perspective, we've been focused on efficiencies and effectiveness more than we have from a customer side of things. And we've gotten to the point where we can deliver, to an extent, customer experience based on, let's say, categories of people, maybe demographics, maybe age groups, maybe locations. But what we found, or what we've seen from the 70 billion interactions we drive every year and all the customers that we engage with, it really comes down to not a group of people, but the actual person themselves, the unique customer. If you will, hyper-personalization being the thing that drives customer experience these days. And from a Genesys perspective, how we approaching the market and how we're trying to differentiate or allow our customers to differentiate in the market is really around that personalization. And we're coining that from a Genesys perspective, the Genesys Experience as a Service platform, or Genesys Experience as a Service. But what does that mean? So we know about communications as CCAS or CAS or UCAS, all of those AASs at the end, all of those acronyms, communication as a service, platform as a service, software as a service. So we are pioneering a new category in that space called Experience as a Service. And what that really entails, it's all around the personalization of your customer, right? And we see it being built on 3 pillars. Customer and employee data, very important. It's not just the data about the customer that you have. I think based on recent surveys and market research, companies do not use about 70% of the data they have about their customers. They never leverage. It's just there. So that's quite a big portion that we haven't even delved into. But it's customer data as well as employee data. So remembering that it is definitely about the customer, but it's also about the employees. The employee experience also being a big part of things, and the data we have about our employees. And now that we have all of that data, that's where artificial intelligence comes in. So that's the second part of the virtuous circle. So artificial intelligence and machine learning and all of those algorithms helps us to actually surface those key moments or key insights into the data to help us make those real-time decisions in order to engage. And that's the third part of that little circle, being the engagement part. So we have the data, we have the means, or let's say the brain power behind that to leverage it, but now we need a means, a tool, in order to engage our customers properly and as well as our employees. And those 3 together helps us to give that personalized experience. And one of the core tenets of that is to enable our agents or us as, let's say, providers to our customers to show empathy. We feel that's the missing piece, or the missing puzzle piece to effectiveness and efficiency that we've always tried to drive with first call resolution and average handling time, all of those terms that we quote in the industry. But empathy is the missing part. And that empathy is really about that leveraging that data we have and the artificial intelligence to inform our agents as to where the customers come from, where they're going to, and provide that contextualized information for them to show empathy, thereby gaining the trust of the customer, and then, of course, driving loyalty. And that's the big key differentiator these days, especially if you look at all the online retailers and the e-commerce. It's really down to keeping that loyalty apart from just doing the price wars, if you will. Right, so let's see the top 3 trends quickly from digital sales perspective that we've seen across the market. So lost margins on retail assets, meaning that there's always a price war going on. On which website or which retailer or which platform can you get the same product for the lowest price? There's always those margins lost on those retail assets, and of course shopping cart abandonment being a big factor. The omnichannel convenience gap, again, tying into Alden's section, omnichannel convenience gap is being really important. So as part of the Dimension data, it's almost the annual state of customer experience report. Customer effort or convenience of contact is always ranked in the top 3 of what drives customer satisfaction. So whether the customer wants to engage with you over the telephone, over chat, over email, over WhatsApp, we have to be where our customers are and have the context of that customer, regardless of which channel they're contacting us on. And then, of course, the supply chain transformation. So the supply chain needs to catch up just to this new way of working, if you will, or new way of consumption. I think we're making strides, but I think there's still some advantages or momentum to gain there. Right, so the challenges, and that's the trends, the challenges. Now, there are many, many challenges, and we for fear of getting into the weeds a little bit, I'm going to take us up to, get onto a Falcon 9 rocket and shoot up to the space station, as SpaceX did recently, and take a look from a much bigger global perspective. So digital ad spending from a digital marketing perspective topped out at $209 billion for last year. And that's quite a lot if we convert that to rands, but that fluctuates obviously every 2 days. The rand goes up or down to 3.9 trillion rands just for 1 year. So that would help us with, I suppose, the fiscal assistance we need at this point in time. But that's just what's been spent. Now, the main thing there is 97% of that spend never converts. So it's a really alarming factor from an ROI perspective, because only 3% of what we are spending actually converts into sales and leads, or lead conversion, if you will. Part of that 97%, of course, is related to brand awareness and everything else. So it's not completely lost, but it still means that only 3% converts, and that's a big thing that we need to try and target. And if I drop a little bit down into lower orbit on the way back to Earth, what's driving that? And one of them, not the only factor, but one of the big factors is, for instance, shopping cart abandonment. So across the last decade or more, we've seen it just increasing as time goes by, and it actually topped out in 2018 at 75.6% of cart abandonment, and that's quite a lot if you think about it. That's 75% potential sales lost for people that already had products in their cart, and then perhaps they were unsure, or something went wrong, or nobody was there to help them to close that, or to let's say cash in the cart. So that's a big thing where we can focus to try and drive the sales. And then when we get down to sea level, what underlies that? So, and then you'll notice all the brand names here now. It's mostly international brands, but I'm pretty sure I haven't had a look at a local example being Takealot, I suppose, or one of the big names. But if you look across them, the average time people spend on a site is only 6 minutes. So that means that people are spending a lot less time, or very little time, on each provider's site to find what they want. And if they don't get what they want, they move on to the next one. Or if they get stuck, they let's say, frustrated very quickly and move on. So we have a very, very short window of right timing to try and influence that customer's journey and try to bring them into let's say, into your platforms to engage with them at the right time in that short window, in order to shape their journey and drive that business outcome that you want them to take or achieve, or you want to achieve. And that's where Genesys predictive engagement comes in. So it's really into a couple of right blocks, if you will. First, to qualify the visitor's buying intent, to understand what they're trying to do, firstly, in real time, using AI and machine learning. Secondly, based on that, determine what is the right offer based on the customer's profile, the data that you have about the customer, using that personalization information that you have to understand how should you try and reach out to the customer. Then secondly, what channel? So not just what type of offer to offer them, but also do they prefer chat or do they prefer voice, as an example. Determine the right time and the right channel. And then, of course, when you engage them with the right resource. So provide your own skilled resource that matches so we're using your employee data to match the customer data to drive the outcome. And of course, which leads to when you marry all of that up and all the little building blocks fall into place at the right time, at the right place, right channel, that obviously drives more conversions and obviously raises your bottom line. So that's really what I wanted to tell you in that regard, but also obviously just show you some proof points. So from a leading European bank, that sounds a little bit conspiratorial. We're just not allowed to show that, but we obviously can divulge under NDA. But a leading European bank deployed predictive engagement with 2 use cases. The first being a lead generation use case. So they wanted to increase application forms for loans. And they deployed just a standard chat. So once you're on the first page of the loan application, they'll try to engage you with chat to say, hey, we're here to help you. Now, you would find that a lot on our own sites. I don't know if obviously everybody browses a lot on the internet, but you'll find lots of times you'll go to a site and immediately you'll have some kind of chat, let's say engagement trying to assist you or try to get interject in your journey. Now, we're all mostly digital natives, if you will. We're getting very proficient in that. So we normally would reach out for help using the static way to engage. So that sometimes detracts from the journey and sometimes even leads to somebody going away from your site. So they only saw 2% uptake of that offer. When they deploy predictive engagement, where we only engage when we detect via machine learning and AI and what the customer is doing, when we determine we need to engage, they increase that 2% to 28%. So that's a huge jump from the 2% that they saw initially, which is a static engagement model. The second use case was, of course, with COVID-19, they expected a lot of more service requests with the forced move to their banking app. So they wanted to deploy, or let's say engage with chat on their website to assist customers. And what they found there is after deploying that and doing surveys, they found that they ranked 4.43 out of 5 for customer satisfaction. They saw 11% conversion rate into positive outcomes, meaning like scheduling a callback to assist or scheduling bank branch appointments, improve the agent's efficiency, and they've streamlined their processes of customer care, sales, and marketing, which sometimes sounds out of place, but as we've always been playing in the customer care market, if you will, but it's no longer that. The silos have been broken down, that customer care, sales, and marketing all forms part of the same company and all work together to drive the business outcomes that we want. And then some very high level other ones, Marks and Spencer, I think you noticed the name, they increased their online conversions by 8.2%. Smith's Toy Superstores, also in Europe, they reduced their cart abandonment by 30%. And Property Guys in the US saw a 20% increase in sales, better customer experience, and reduced costs because they're trying to engage every person on the site. There's a cost to each chat based on financial models. So only engaging when they needed to engage, they were able to reduce the costs as well. Right, and that takes me into a quick live demonstration of what I've been rambling on about. And I'm just going to position just let's say an avatar, if you will, or a use case. So this is Peter. He's a proud new home owner and of course with the continued rise of electricity, I think NERSA approved another increase recently for our electricity costs. Peter's looking for ways to save on his monthly electricity bill, right? So you've got 2 main decision points. The price has to be right. Obviously, everybody's looking for the right price at this point in time. And of course, it shouldn't be a once-off. It should be a continued benefit, so future benefits. Right, so with that, if you give me a second, let me just get that open for you and get that going. One moment. Right.
Ladies and gentlemen, while Peter is changing his screen, we would like to invite you to ask your questions. Thank you. The first one has come in from Jackie. How do advertisers divert their marketing promotional expertise into sales? So Peter's going to, in the demo, hopefully just answer that for you. But anyone else who has a question that you would like to put forward to Peter, please ask it in the chat. We will give you 2 or 3 minutes when he's done with his demo in order to answer those questions directly.
Okay, so what you see on your screen at the moment is fictitious website that we use specifically for the purposes of showing the value. So it's really a solar panel or solar, let's say, solar conversion website called GSOL, a fictitious website. And I'm, as a customer, obviously, like we all do, we mostly go to Google first, and search for solar panels, and he's ended up at GSOL. And now he's browsing around to understand what the site is all about, right? So he goes to learning, doesn't understand, well, obviously leaves it a little bit and goes back to GSOL. So he's browsing the site. Now, the important thing here is the real-time factor. Now, if I go into the platform, Genesys Cloud platform, as you providing the service, or maybe it's your website, maybe you're the GSolar. And if I go into the website or into the cloud platform, the idea is to be able to have real-time insights into what's happening and to be able to engage in real time, right? So I'm going to give it a second to load. It's going on to Genesys Cloud platform, which obviously is accessible via the browser. Let me just put that down. All right. Okay, so if I, as a supervisor or as a, let's say, the marketing side of things, monitoring the website, all of that, if I have a look at what's happening in real time on my website and I go there, give it a second to load. Right, I can see everybody on the website and what they're doing at this point in time. So you can see all the people on the website. But now what's obviously of importance is to find the right one. And there's so many sessions going on the site at the point in time. There we go. There I am, because I haven't logged in yet. Unknown. You would have seen, just before I clicked, you would have seen its name unknown, right? So you can see we went to learning, we went to GSOL. Now, to show you the power, let me just put this side by side, and then that'll give you an idea of what I'm talking about. Right? So on the right-hand side, we have the customer browsing the site. So he goes, let's go back to learning. And on the left-hand side, we can see in real time the journey updating, right? So we can in real time start monitoring what the journeys of the customers are on the website if we wanted to. We can see, what the operating system they're using. I'm using a Chrome browser. I'm connecting via, I'm coming in via Pretoria. I can see my session. If I had previous sessions, that would be in here as well. So I can see all of that information, and that's great. I can also see the outcome scores, which is the AI, the machine learning taking place. So machine learning is trying to predict what's going to happen on this journey, right? Now, Peter, being interested in solar power, coming back to our use case, he seems very interested and he wants to learn a bit more. And in order to do that, he needs to perhaps register and log on to the site. And he does that. And because we're monitoring, we can see, okay, that somebody's logged in. We've got into the page view, and now I'm logged in, and now I can continue on. Because I'm looking for residential, some way to save money, I go into the residential page, I read on and say, yes, okay. It's already pre-filled my information from the registration I made. Yes, I am a homeowner. I carry on. Again, on the left, you can see my segmentation has been matched. Let me just make that a little bit bigger. So I can segment the customers as well based on what's happening. I can see information perhaps that they've submitted. So I've submitted this on the form. I can put in my address, next. And now I'm looking at the financials and, seeing, is this going to be based on my requirement being that the price has to be right? And I want to be able to get immediate benefit, but also future benefits. I can have a look at that. Now, I haven't taken any action. And because that happens, you would notice on the right-hand side, I'm not doing anything further. I'm not saying I'm interested. And because of that, the AI at the bottom is determining, okay, I'm a pretty high hot lead for residential hot lead from the journey I've taken. And because I haven't done anything, that means in our terms, if in quotation marks, abandoned the cart or abandoned the interest. And because of that, we're executing a content offer. So we're trying to shape the journey, right? We're trying to shape the journey to say, hey, customer, there are some tax credits that will help you, improve or help you make the business case yourself in order to go with us as your provider for solar panels. And then Peter goes on and he accepts that offer, and we can see he accepted the offer. He carries on, he reads, and he says, great, that's awesome. I want to have the product, right? So in this first use case, we've just shaped the journey and without having any engagement, help the customer, or Peter in this case, find the product that they were looking for, right? Now, but some time goes by. Let me just go back to here, and I go back to live now. Some time goes by. I'm going to close this down. Just going to open a new window for Gmail. Right. Let's go back to my mail. Peter is very happy with the installation. It all went well. He's getting some benefits, but he's worried about his batteries. He gets a newsletter from GSOL to say, okay, hey, remember you have to keep up with maintenance. You need to keep up your batteries. And Peter thinks, okay, maybe I should look at more batteries, maybe see how the maintenance goes. And he goes onto that marketing email and he clicks on it. And because it's a marketing-driven email, perhaps Adobe, Marketo, whatever the case might be, it provides UTM parameters, right? So it determines which marketing campaign this customer is coming from. And because of that, and I go down and find myself, we've already pre-identified the customer because we remember him from before, but perhaps it's carrying on. And we're also now segmenting him according to to that marketing campaign to understand, okay, he's coming from that marketing campaign, so we can do marketing attribution. So over here, we go to utilities. He's very happy. He wants to perhaps add some batteries. He's read up on the maintenance side. And again, this is really getting too big. Let me just minimize it slightly. I'm actually on the, go down so you can see what's happening. I'm actually on the right session. No, 1 second. There's too many sessions. There I am. So there's the marketing segmentation happening because I entered via that email. You can see I went to the batteries. I added it to the cart. Over here, we can see the cart being added, what's being added to the cart. And again, we can segment according to that, do something different. In this case, we will add a discount. Yes, we did, $25 discount because we're adding this, perhaps a special on these batteries and perhaps based on the value of the customer. Go to checkout. Again, filling in the form, and this is now where the credit card information and everything else needs to be added. Just answer that. 1 moment. Right. Now I need to fill in my credit card information, carry on, do all of that. And I'm not so sure, right? So I don't want to necessarily do anything. I'm abandoning the cart, if you will. So what's happened on that journey? Let's go back. All right. Basically abandon the cart to go back to the main page. Right, we can see if the form is abandoned, right? And now because we've abandoned the cart, remember we're trying to drive or to reduce the cart abandonment. And because we have the context, we know that discount was applied, right? So we can try and say, hey, at the bottom right-hand side, instead of now, statically engaging because of that make payment, going up to almost 95% probability, or let's say 98% probability of closing that deal. And by abandoning it, the probability went down quite substantially to, let's say, 20%. And because of AI doing that, and because of that happening, we're trying to engage. The customer says, yes, great, I want to engage. Hi. And then you can obviously have a chatbot come in here, perhaps to add a linear task to that, but you can also speak to an agent. Right. At that time, it gets to the agent. The agent answers the interaction. And very importantly, the agent has the context. So if the chatbot had engaged and he'd asked the chatbot questions, the agent has the complete view of what happened there of the agent with the chatbot, the customer to chatbot. But very importantly, building that empathy and the context and the personalization, the agent has view into exactly what happened on that web visit. The newsletter, the campaign discounts, they abandoned the checkout, they could see exactly what the journey was on the site, the outcomes from AI, what that was predicting. All of that information is now at hand for the agent in order to help the customer with what they were doing. So he can immediately see, I see you've got a discount. You have a discount, whatever the case might be. And they can then complete that purchase and obviously drive your outcome that you were trying to achieve on your website. Right, and that is part of the demonstration. So I'm going to stop sharing. And give it back to you, Elton.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Peter. So I definitely, as I was watching you do the demo, thought about the number of times that I'd called into my bank and or whatever, my medical provider in South Africa, there's a medical provider that has very different business units. And each time I have to authenticate myself. And each time I have to re-explain what I'm doing. Yeah, so, for me, it's really interesting to see the back end and how the real-time impact comes through. And for my own experience, I want to see the insights, putting my visits, my interactions into the proper context every time, at every step, to make sure that I have a more relevant customer experience journey overall, and a more relevant user experience for the user journey for the specific interaction, right? So thank you for that. It was really interesting to see how all of that stuff gets done in real time, because now almost for the first time I'm able to see the value of an omni-channel, multi-channel solution in enabling a better experience for the customer with the right information, right promptings, but also how we can start to make a difference to ensure that 97% of marketing budget does not get lost, right? Can you imagine a world in where you knew in everything that you did, 97% of the efforts are wasted?
That's crazy.
Right? So, I mean, that's crazy. So thank you for showing it to us, and I can definitely see how it can enable the kind of results that Marks and Spencers have got, the kind of results that property guys are seeing with a 20% increase in sales. So there weren't any additional questions, and I am afraid that we're going to run out of time. So ladies and gents, from wherever you are, if you do have questions, please do still feel free to add it into the questions box. We will see at the end about the time to address those questions. But we're going to switch now to Alicia. Alicia is going to be talking to us in her part of the webinar about Accelerate with Genesys Cloud. And in particular, we'll be discussing how the on-premise solutions today make it tough to adapt, and how that standing still in the marketplace today is really not an option. So I'm sure you can all relate to that, and due to the challenges that we've been facing in the last few months, the last few weeks with COVID-19, it's important that we talk about moving to cloud, right? So moving to Genesys Cloud and how you'll be able to achieve better outcomes and ways to live on the edge, on the frontiers of innovation, right? So looking forward to hearing from you, Alicia, as we invited before, ladies and gents. Please do ask your questions, please do interact with us, and we will be happy to address your questions on what we've shared, on what Peter has shared, as well as what Alicia is going to be sharing with us now. Alicia, we can't wait to hear from you.
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, Alden, and thank you very much for that introduction. Second here, just to share all my screens with you.
If you'd like to enable your video, but don't really have to.
I would love to, but when I logged in earlier, I didn't log in with video, so I don't think that's going to go down well. And then also, you know, sometimes it influences with the speech and everything when you are doing a demo. Can everyone see my screen?
We can, thank you.
Okay, it's only the one slide that you can see, right? Okay, great stuff. So yes, everyone. Hi, my name is Alicia Griffith. Like Eldon said, I've been with Genesys for the last 5.5 years, and I am the manager for the solution consulting team in the South and East Africa region. So we are all based in Johannesburg, South Africa. And yes, let's jump into the second part of this webinar. We are going to talk about accelerating with Genesys Cloud. And it's like Eldon said, you know, we are going to discuss exactly why on-premise solutions today, A, makes it so tough to adapt, and that B, the lack of standing still, it's just not an option. You know, that lack of mobility is just not an option. And a lot of businesses experience just that during these challenges time that we faced during the last few months with COVID-19. So now we are going to talk about moving to the Genesys Cloud. So why is now the best time to do it, and why Genesys? So the benefit of cloud, regardless of the vendor's agility. And we can see that business and governments alike are finding the need to adapt their platform to a changing landscape. But you know, with that change, it's always time consuming and it's very expensive with on-premise technology, even ours, so we know. There's a number of growing organizations who are requiring what the cloud can offer. And the cloud provides that great flexibility with resource management. It allows you to scale up and down to accommodate fluctuations in demand. And this means increasing the size of virtual machine to handle more data, deploying new instances of a microservice to handle more interactions, and then, of course, decommissioning them when they no longer need it. And it also means increasing your license count during a time of peak activity. So you don't have to commit your maximum usage and keep shelfware around for the rest of the year or the remaining of that period. We also see that cloud relieves you, you know, of that burden of all the added costs and personnel needed to operate and babysit your deployments in-house today. So without that extra hardware to maintain and data to handle, your IT teams is now freed up to drive projects vital to the core of your business. Cloud lets you also live right on the edge of innovation, right? So it's so much easier just to add a new channel or try new integration. And since Genesys is going cloud first with our product development strategy, that's where all the cool new things we are releasing will be. Like, for example, AI for forecasting, intelligent automation, and then predictive engagement. Pretty much everything you just saw that Peter presented on, right? So yes, so there's a race to go cloud. Everyone's talking about it. We've been talking about it for years, right? But in this race to cloud, there's also a race to go digital. So analysts see digital transformation as the key to remaining competitive and relevant today. Your competitors are probably thinking about it if they're not doing it already. So it's important for your solution to allow you to expand into new digital channels easily without losing the data trail between them, because that pretty much defeats the omni-channel capability, right? And the strategy behind it. You also want to be able to adopt new capabilities without forcing your agents to learn multiple interfaces, and then your IT teams to build and manage multiple integrations. And lastly, don't forget about AI, right? So you need to, you'll need the power to utilize all the customer data you collect and create in creative and predictive ways, like Peter just showed you. And you'll want a solution that that uses AI and has AI built into its DNA. So if we look at this study done by IDC on the worldwide ITC industry productions for 2020, we can see that by 2023, over 50% of all ICT spending will be directly for digital transformation and innovation. And this is up from 27% in 2018, growing at a 17% compound annual growth rate, which is quite substantial, right? We also see that at least 90% of new enterprise apps will embed AI by 2024. So it means that over 50% of user interface interactions will use AI-enabled computer vision, speech, natural language processing, augmented reality, and even virtual reality. IDC also estimates that automated customer service agents, and that could be your chatbots, will mostly double by the end of next year compared to the amount of money that was spent in 2018. Again, substantial, right? And we are seeing that it's not just the big businesses and the big boys that's asking for some sort of AI component within their business. We also see that the smaller businesses are doing that, and they're using this AI to punch above their weight class with predictive and automated experiences, just like the big boys. So, as Alden was telling you and Peter earlier, we as Genesys, we know quite a lot about transformation, and we've been doing a lot of transformation over the last couple of years, 30 in fact, and we've had to adapt to an ever-changing landscape. I must tell you, it's been a fantastic journey, and we are not done growing by a long shot. So it's very exciting times. So if we just look at our transformation, I think, as an organization, we've evolved from just offering multi-channel to now offering omni-channel journey management. We used to compete against the guys, the traditional competitors like Aspect and Avaya and Cisco. And now we are competing with new competitors like the Salesforces and the Twilios of the world. So we evolved from a no cloud offering to the world's third fastest growing cloud business in this space, which is amazing. And we are used to heavy handcrafted premise solutions, and we moved away from that to now offer rapidly deployable cloud solutions. We also moved away from traditional contact centers only to now a customer engagement platform that looks after marketing, sales, and services. And also, as you saw the video from our new CEO, Tony Bates, he joined us at the end of 2019. And as Peter also explained to you what customer experience as a service is. So yes, we are moving away from a software as a service organization towards an experience as a service organization. So we're also seeing that our flagship cloud product, the Genesys Cloud, is rising in popularity at a dramatic rate. And I mean, that's just not possible with on-premise technology today. And that's both from a deployment perspective and from a consumption perspective. But just a fun fact, Genesys, on our cloud platform, we are now onboarding over 100 new customers per quarter. It's quite exciting, right? So we have a lot of experience when it comes to facilitating cloud transformations, and it's one of our primary areas of focus and a big target of our R&D spend going forward. So we're talking to a lot of organizations every day about their specific concerns, and then adjusting our tools and our methodology to become better and faster at getting our customers to reach their cloud ambitions. And this includes our own premise customers as well. So we know that many CIOs and CXOs and CEOs are facing pressure internally to enforce a cloud strategy of some sort, or they're seeing their competitors in a cloud rollout, some type of experience that makes them look a bit old-fashioned, and that's not where we want to be. Everyone is affected by the change, right? And that's why we're having this discussion today, because we're reaching out so that no one ends up feeling stranded or forgotten about. We've made our name for ourselves as a premise company years ago, but we've shifted gears and now going full cloud because that's what market trends and the voices of our customers are wanting from us. So I invite you to go onto the Genesys website, which is genesys.com, and we've got 3 customer success stories that I invite you to read. They all moved from on-premise solutions to Genesys Cloud, and they have done so very successfully. So let's talk about architecture and why is this so important? Well, our development standard and requirements are set extremely high. To deploy a service, and this could be any type of service, on the Genesys Cloud platform, our team builds it according to very specific standards. So if you are technical, this will mean something to you. If not, for business, we can explain that in more detail moving forward. So for us, it must be, our cloud must be multi-tenant with a microservices and event architecture and continuous deployment. And this is to ensure elasticity, scalability, and efficiency. You must also go through an extensive automated unit and integration testing, and that is to check the performance of individual components and how they work together. It must also have authentication and meet our security specifications, and that is to ensure the safety of your customer information and to make sure that you and us comply with global security standards. And then lastly, it must have a smart layer and public APIs, right? And this is to pass information between applications so you can integrate critical systems and build custom solutions. So another thing I want to brag about is since it was June last year, so more than a year ago, we haven't had to talk about availability in the nines. Genesys Cloud has 100% availability. So just before you commit to a cloud vendor and also a transformation solution, make sure you ask, it's a truly cloud solution, and ask these two questions. Can you continuously innovate? And can you do this quickly? Because it's no longer necessary that you buy everything you need all at once, right? You can consume technology at the speed that makes sense to you. And also make sure that you're agile enough to take on the future of nonstop, because that's where your competitors are playing, and that's what they're doing. And Genesys Cloud gives you that ability to live differently, always iterating, always receiving new feedback, always fluctuating in response to change demand, and always looking at new capabilities that could bring even better results, always improving. So most of you and most of the people we talk to normally ask us, but we don't know what sort of change this sort of change entails. How will we know what to do? Are we ready? Where do we begin? And yes, we know that successful migrations require an approach that empowers you, right? So we have a migration journey, and the migration journey with Genesys is one we take together. So we don't see a migration as a project with fixed start and end dates accompanied by a license transaction. No, we see this as a relationship, and a relationship we want to build and a journey we take together. We also understand that successful migrations are deliberately paced. So we've created this walk, run, fly approach. And we take your unique business needs into account, focusing on getting the basics done first to reduce risk and disruption, so you have a solid foundation on which to build in the future. So let's look at walk. So we migrate and optimize the core contact center environment to the Genesys Cloud without loss of functionality. And the goal here is just to get you up and running and seeing real business value very, very quickly. If we look at the run, with that solid foundation in place, with the walk phase, we look at how we can now enhance customer channels, develop context-based next best actions, define performance metrics, expand employee engagement, all those sorts of things. And lastly, we look at fly, and we take the fly approach. And that's when we look at how really help you differentiate, layering on advanced technologies and using data, machine learning, and analytics to optimize and personalize every single engagement. So yes, it's phased, prescriptive, and with a lot less disruption. So some of you might ask, why move now? So if you don't move now, you're missing a lot of opportunities to benefit from all you gain from moving to Genesys Cloud. And this is benefits such as higher returns that allow you to take advantage of all the latest technology available to leverage data better, to create more predictive experiences, and also to really move the needle on efficiency KPIs like first call resolution and average handle time. You can also lower your overhead. So think about the cost savings you'll experience when you don't have servers or build versions to manage. It also means that your IT staff, you can turn them loose on projects that add value to your core business objectives. Let Genesys handle the customer experiences, what we do, and it's what we do really, really well. Lastly, think about brand loyalty. So your customers, especially the younger generation, will notice the modern experience they're receiving, and obviously they're going to tell others around about it, right? So your ability to stay on top of which channel they prefer and how they want to be interacted with will be crucial in keeping their loyalty and obviously attracting other ones in the years to come. Another question you might have is, okay, why Genesys? Because no one is better at this than we are, and no one will have you covered for the future like we do. And it sounds like a bit of an arrogant statement, but we have the best technology. Genesys Cloud is providing the best customer experience platform in the future. We build it on microservices architecture that allows you for high velocity feature development and resiliency. Genesys Cloud is everything you need in a single pane of glass. And we can obviously uncover that when we start having conversations and show you what it looks like and how it will work. Adding also functionality doesn't mean it has to be new, complex, with complex integration, costs, and build to maintain. It means flipping on a switch. And now that interface is ready for you to use in the interface that you already know, that your agents already know. So everything from IVR, the workforce management, digital channels, reporting, dashboards, scripting, outbound campaigns, it all blends together into one cohesive solution that expands to meet your needs on the fly as your business changes, right? If we look at faster time to value, one of our Genesys Cloud's best capabilities is how easily it's adopted. It was built with user experience in mind from the beginning, so that it's easy to onboard new users and less expensive to train. Also, we'll use automation tools that can perform the technical part of the migration for up to 60% faster than any competitor. And we can export your system configuration from your on-premise solution today and import into Genesys Cloud and in a couple of days, not weeks. And again, none of our competitors have anything to offer like this. We also talk about smooth commercial transition. And yes, this obviously going to change on a case-by-case basis. But yes, we do have a lot of commercial incentives in our offer that our cloud competitors can't match. So starting over with a rip and replace on another vendor's platform would not make sense financially. And yeah, I'm sure you guys can see all the benefits of not doing that, right? All right, so we've helped plenty of other organizations with their transformations and have many migrations in progress right now. On the screen, you can see a handful of them. Some of them are not well known because they are mostly international. But just to give you a summary, we have transformed more than 900 premise customers to cloud over the last 2 years. We've helped simplify and modernize customer portfolios through cloud transformations, and we are doing cloud transformations in as little as 2 months. So yes, we know what we are doing. We are doing it often. So on my last slide, if you're thinking about your migration, and now is the time to start the conversation with us, right? Because we are the right partner and we are the long-term partner. We have a proven program and a proven track record to help you migrate with confidence to a true customer experience, a platform to offer that customer experience excellence that you and your customers are looking for. So yes, as this is my last slide, I'm going to encourage you to visit our website, which is genesys.com, to start your migration journey with us today. And if you don't want to do that, you are more than welcome to reach out to myself or to Peter to get started on the journey. So with that, I am now going to ask if there is any questions.
So let's see if there are any questions, but you did bring something to mind for me, Alicia, and that is in my own experience about 10 years ago when we were looking to implement a new solution, a new custom solution. We had to buy servers and then wait for them to get ordered from overseas and then install them, and then the memory fails. And so anyone, who doesn't think of the opportunity cost of actually not going cloud and the benefits that that gives us to start small, to not have to have these very difficult decisions about, the CapEx investment that is required, but starting small, scaling up as you go, being able to be agile, Those are very important considerations now that I understand today that I didn't see 10, 15 years ago, right? When we bought these big servers from Big Blue. But I mean, I enjoyed seeing that and how understanding again how agile and innovation is actually enabled by cloud and the potential customer experience and business benefits that you can get from that. There aren't really any questions that have come through. So you've probably done a really good job of proactively answering users' questions. Given that we are where we are.
Yes, I mean, again, so no other questions, but yes, if people don't want to ask questions on this platform, our email addresses and everything are published, so please feel free to reach out to us directly. And Alden, from our side, I just want to thank you and Peter for your time and your presentations, your valuable insights. And then, from my side, I just want to tell everyone to take care and stay safe.
Same for me.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you to Genesys, thank you to the media partner, IT News Africa, and most importantly, to each one of you who have taken your time to dial in and listen to the insights that you shared with us today. Thank you very much. We look forward to connecting with you all again.
I'm not sure if Alden is still on the line there. But yeah, thank you so much, Alicia.
Thanks, everyone.
Keep well.
Bye.
Great. Thank you so much for the presentations. Bye.